Part 21. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 202. Chapter 202, Come to the Door, Please Recommend Votes, Monthly Votes. That's not all, and Lin's wife directly sat on her and slapped Aunt Ting's face twice. Anshin also ran over in a hurry, picked up the sister-in-law from his mother, and threw her out. How could a woman be as strong as Anshin, who runs in the mountains all year round? Damn it, you dare to hit my mother without saying a word. Anshin helped Aunt Ting up and started to move his hands towards the sister-in-law. Seeing that the matter was getting serious, Grandma he rolled her eyes and said, "Why don't you go and try to persuade me?" After saying that, she started by herself, turned around slowly and walked out. Learn one by one. Meixiu finally wanted to go, but Aunt Mei-Lian stopped her and said, "Xiaoxiu, just settle down and stay at home." She was worried and asked her in-laws to keep an eye on her. Li Shuangshuang was also a little scared. She had never seen a daughter-in-law hit her mother-in-law. The two pregnant women were clearly arranged. The people who went up first pulled Anshin away and cursed him casually. Aunt Zhengting didn't know whether she was injured or not, so she didn't get up from the ground for a long time. When Lixia and Aunt Zillian helped the person up, they heard her calling. It hurts, please be gentle, I can't move." Aunt Ting's whole body was shaking with pain. "No, he may be injured. Hurry, and Chang, go hitch your carriage and take your Aunt Ting to the brigade for medical treatment." It was a big holiday, and the good mood was ruined when Aunt Ting was injured. Without saying a word, and Cheng immediately turned around and ran down the mountain. Zhang Lanhua pulled Lixia away and helped Aunt Zillian lean against her. "Zhennan, come here quickly and carry my sister-in-law down first." "Nothing is important now, Aunt Ting is the most important." Anshin's eyes were red, and he glared at Anlin's wife on the ground. "If there is something wrong with my mother, I will take your life." After saying that, Anshin followed. "Grandma," he sighed, "you're a house spoiler, you're in trouble." She shook her head and left. No one cared about Anlin's wife lying on the ground. In order not to delay lunch, Aunt Mei-Lian and others did not go with us, but Lixia went. It would be bad if a woman did not go. There is still such a big family at home for dinner, so we can't leave. When lunch was ready, a group of people came back. Everyone is very concerned about Aunt Ting's affairs, and they are waiting for the news one by one. "I'm fine, but I hurt my waist. I'm afraid I won't be able to go to the ground anymore, and I'll have to nurse her for several years." And Cheng and An Liang sent Aunt Ting to the hospital in the town, he Zhennan and the others said when they came back. Hearing the news, everyone looked very unhappy. Alas, marrying a wife in the future depends on character. Not just anyone can marry into the family. Grandma he sighed. Not only that, she also glared at Lixia, "And you, keep your temper down. If your mother-in-law hadn't been so good-tempered, you would have been dealt with long ago. I am striking everyone." With these words, Lixia's mother-in-law quickly stood up and said, "That's not what she said, third grandma. Her temper is not at all tough, but Lixia's character is nothing to say. You really wronged her for this." Everyone was alert and knew what the third aunt meant when she said this. "You are tough even with outsiders, but if you dare to do this to your own family, see if I don't break your legs." Aunt Mei-Lian quickly stood up and said, I know, am I that kind of person? I'm fine with my mother." After saying that, Lixia stepped forward and hugged her mother-in-law's hand. "That's right, Lixia and I are kissing." Seeing that they get along so well, everyone feels relieved. "Dazu, don't forget your mother when you marry a daughter-in-law. It's not easy for your parents to give birth to and raise you." He Zhenkei also patted the man Lixia who was holding his grandson and said, "Dad, how could it be? Lixia is being filial. Don't worry, our family's life will get better and better." "That's good. Okay, don't show off your intimacy there, aren't you even hungry?" As soon as Grandma he spoke, everyone immediately sat around. 4 families are quite a lot of people, and it took 3 whole tables to sit down. At He Jingting's house, when Enlin and the others came back at noon, they discovered that something was wrong at home. No one cooked the food at home, and Enlin's wife was still lying on the bed. He Jingting looked unhappy. What's going on? From the Enlin family, where are your mother and your brother? He Jingting's voice was quite loud. Enlin's wife knew that the father-in-law was in charge of the family, so she didn't dare to stay in bed when she heard the voice. Dad, look, these are all done by Anshan. I'm not alive anymore. I was beaten by my brother-in-law just a few days after I got married. I shouted and cried at the same time. Enlin felt very distressed when he saw the red and swollen face of his wife. Did Anshan beat you? Why did he hit you? Where's Mom? Didn't Mom stop him? He stepped forward and touched it with his hands. But Enlin didn't know how serious it was, so he touched it with great force, which made Enlin's daughter-in-law burst into tears. She can't say that she beat her mother-in-law, right? So, when lunch is finished and after 3 fathoms of wine, He Jingting ran down with his son and wife. He Jinkei, come out. If you don't give me an explanation today, my family will never be done with you. After hearing what his daughter-in-law said, He Jingting felt very angry. If you don't call yourself home after inviting everyone to eat, forget it. What does it mean to keep saying sarcastic words? Can't his family afford food? It's just chicken, duck, and fish. His family is rich and can afford it. It's just that I can't swallow the breath. As soon as he heard someone shouting outside, He Jinkei walked to the yard with a little wandering steps. Brother Zhengting, you are here. Come in and sit down. Have you eaten? He Jinkei was drunk. He Zhengting led people into the courtyard. Unfortunately, He Jinkei was drunk, so he stepped forward and pushed Enlin. You are not welcome in my house, you white-eyed wolf, get out of here with your vicious woman. These words shocked He Zhengting and Enlin. He Jinkei, what do you mean by that? He Zhengting pushed He Jinkei, almost knocking him to the ground. Aunt Mei Lian ran over and helped the man. What are you doing? Are you trying to fight? Seeing her man being bullied, the matter was not over. Don't think that just because you are the eldest brother, you can bully others. You can't think of me as my sister-in-law. She won't dare to say no even if you fart. He Zhengting disliked quarreling with women. Go away. Facing He Jinkei, He Zhengting asked, what did you mean by that just now? When did my Enlin's wife become a poisonous woman? He Jinkei was half awake from his wine. Brother, he was about to explain, but he didn't expect that his wife spoke faster than him. Huh, am I wrong? She sent Aunt Ting to the hospital. What is this kind of woman but a vicious woman? Aunt Mei Lian was already angry. Happily enjoying the festival, he actually came to trouble his own family. I don't understand. Did her family eat, take, or use their own food? Grandma He and Mei Shui stood aside and did not go forward. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 203. Chapter 203, Arrangements and Plans. Originally, she was the elder here, so she had to step forward and say a few words. Unfortunately, who was Grandma He? How could she step forward and say something? Look, take a good look at the evil nature of human nature, Grandma He said with a mocking look. Mei Shui tightened her grandma's hand and said, Grandma. It's okay, Grandma is okay, don't worry. After arguing for a long time, He Zhengting also knew the cause and effect. He couldn't get angry at being embarrassed in front of so many people, so he slapped Enlin's wife, who was next to Enlin. You uneducated thing! This slap was very loud. Enlin's wife wanted to yell, scream, and cry, but after seeing the look in her father-in-law's eyes, she didn't dare. In the end, He Zhengting left He Jinkei's home with his son and daughter-in-law, and no one paid much attention to what happened after that. However, they don't have to pay attention if they don't want to. Because, Hyunlin took his wife and stole all the family's money and ran away. Throughout August, there was no shortage of gossip in Hejia village. Everyone went to the four groups, wanting to know more gossip news. These have nothing to do with Mei Shui's family. Of course, if there is any relationship, it is Anshan. And Shenkai came to Mei Shui and wanted to learn winemaking from her because he didn't plan to go to school. At home, my mother fell on the bed and couldn't move, and my father was hit by his elder brother again, and his whole head turned gray overnight. This family now relies on Anshan to support it. I can teach you, but you have to learn with Anwen and the others. After getting the medical book given by Xiaobai, Mei Shui had a longer-term plan. It is specifically used to brew medicinal wine. Sister-in-law, I promise, as long as I can change the situation at home, I will listen to you in everything from now on. Anshan choked and said. Grandma, he shook her head at the side, you know people, but you don't know their hearts. To marry a virtuous wife, Xiaoshan, please be more discerning in the future and don't be deceived. Grandma, he couldn't bear to say. Well, I made a note of it. Third, Grandma, Anshan will never be able to repay you and your sister-in-law for their great kindness in this life. He can only repay you as a cow or a horse. No need, just listen to your sister-in-law more from now on. Grandma, he didn't know what Xiaoxiu was planning, but she knew that she was a person who would not suffer any losses. Meixiu asked Anshan to bring Anwen and the others back. She had to arrange some things. Hians was a little confused. After the others left, he asked, Xiaoxiu, what are your plans? Meixiu looked at him and smiled, I know a lot. It's easy to live a good life, but now that we have children, I want to give them better. Mei Shui simply stated her plan. They can make wine if they want, but she wants to specialize in medicinal wine. After hearing this, Hian smiled and said, I'm not too small-hearted, but it seems that you need some kind of certificate to do business now. I'll help you ask when I have time, and don't let others learn from it. Mei Shui knew about this. It was about the patent certificate. Sure, I will write the materials to you when the time comes. Just go and apply for it. Xiao listened very seriously. Mom, can I also learn? Of course, you have to learn not only winemaking, but also many things. As long as your father and I can learn it, you can learn it. Mei Shui sincerely accepted this cheap son. Well, I will study hard and not embarrass you. Looking at the little man's assurance, the whole family laughed. Soon, Anwen, Anliang and Ankan were called over by Anshan. Mei Shui told them her thoughts directly. After hearing this, the four people were all very surprised. You know, even if they are young, they still know the importance of prescriptions. Sister-in-law taught them this, and they. Sister-in-law, don't worry, I will definitely not teach it to others after I learn it. The four of them promised together. I believe you. Since you plan to learn from me and you still have a few days to go to school after getting certified, then you can go to the town and buy all the medicinal materials I want during these days. Also, tell Uncle Drunkard and let him have more winemaking, we want it all. If you want to do something, do it big. Mei Shui writes quickly, and those things are memorized in her mind. After a period of study, she can come up with some recipes herself, but just to be on the safe side, she uses the recipes in the book. After handing the things to them, let them prepare it. Of course, Mei Shui has already calculated the profit. She gets 60%, and each of them gets 10%. We all contribute the capital together, and Fang Ziyi calculates 50%, which is hers alone. After calculating their share, the four of them hurried back home. And when is okay, he can take charge of his own business, but An Liang, and Cheng, and An Shan need to go back and discuss it. Mei Shui believed that her family would not disagree. Anshan now has great opinions about his father, and even if he discusses it, he always discusses it with his mother. Fortunately, for the first time, Mei Shui did not come up with too many prescriptions, just 3 simple ones, and the medicinal ingredients were not too high. After they left, Hians had a headache. "Daughter-in-law, you are getting better and better, but I am still climbing. Do you dislike me?" He was a little worried. "What should I do if my wife is too outstanding?" Xiao and Grandma He each gave him a look. "Then hurry up and come on, what's the use of talking nonsense," Grandma He said angrily. "I really don't know why her grandson is so hopeless." Xiao was more prosperous, stepped forward and patted his father on the shoulder. "Dad, don't be afraid, Mom will support you." As soon as this was said, everyone laughed in a very unkind manner. Hian stayed at home until the end of the month. Now that it was getting closer and closer to Mei Shui's delivery, he wanted to finish what he was doing quickly and then take her to the county town. At the beginning of September, Hians took Xiao to register at the village school and became a freshman. Xiao is a smart person. He has already been enlightened by his grandfather's teachings. He is not afraid of going to school at all. However, Anshan finally chose not to go to school. Everyone felt very sorry for this, but there was nothing they could do about it. He really couldn't live without this situation at home. En Liang and En Cheng went to school in September. After the group of troublemakers disappeared, the village returned to peace. Hians also left home, but his idea was agreed by his grandma. Ask him to come back at the end of the month to take Xiaoxiu to the county town. In the morning, after Xiao went to school, Mei Shui also woke up. "Grandma, how many vegetables are there in the vegetable field now?" Mei Shui counted. "The newly planted vegetables are not ready to be harvested yet, but the ones grown before are almost ready to be sold again. Not to mention, these vegetables grown on the mountain grow really fast." Grandma He has a lot of money in her hands. All obtained from selling vegetables. "That's good, but you can plant some radishes and cabbages next month. When the weather gets cold, it will be difficult for the seeds to germinate. There are a lot of seeds in Mei Shui's space, but even so, once the weather gets cold, it may not be guaranteed. Can germinate and survive. I don't care, the editor is on holiday anyway, so I'll walk up to 6,000 a day." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 204. Chapter 204, Buying a House. Please vote for recommendation. Well, it's almost next month. It just so happens that you go to the county town to have a baby, and Grandma won't take care of you. Xiao can't leave here, and Grandma doesn't trust him to be taken care of by others. Grandma He sighed. "It's okay, I'll just have to greet Ans when the time comes," Mei Shui said in response, but she was also a little at a loss when it came to the child. "Don't worry, Grandma, please ask your Aunt Jian to help you take care of the child for 1 month." Regarding Xiaoxiu, Grandma He was not afraid of troublesome others at all. "Besides, my own vegetables are only sold to them." "Sure, I'll just have to trouble Aunt Jian then," Mei Shui agreed. Well, Grandma went for a walk in the mountains. "The fruits are almost ripe. Don't let the monkeys in the village cause trouble. It's strange that the fruit trees planted by Xiaoxiu have all blossomed and bear fruit this year. Well, if there are any ripe ones, please ask the 2 ants to help pick them. These are wild fruits. She only grows them for beauty and fun. She has fruits to eat at home, so she doesn't have to go to the mountains to find them." "Okay, Grandma knows, and your wine, don't touch it. In a few days, there will be no more life on the mountain and I will help you fish it out. So much, so powerful." "It's not time yet, don't be in a hurry." Mei Shui was happy. Grandma couldn't wait any longer, right? Mei Shui also had plans in mind regarding the vegetable field. She had also discussed it with Hians in the past few days. Growing vegetables yourself is not a long-term solution. Even if you hire someone, how much can you grow? Won't anyone in the village be jealous? Therefore, Mei Shui no longer plans to grow vegetables on the 3 hills of the back mountain. Next year, she plans to bring a mountain spring water from the back mountain and open 2 large fish ponds. Hyans also agreed with this, but the best location for the fish pond was the field under their house. Unfortunately, it belonged to someone else. However, it is not impossible to open it in the back mountain. When the time comes, it will be surrounded by fruit trees, and it will become a beautiful sight. And here in her hometown, Mei Shui thinks that she can build a large house for the convenience of guests in the future. It would be somewhat uncomfortable to live at home. These are her thoughts. Why did she change like this? It's just because now she is not hungry, has warm clothes, and has money in her hands, so she starts her dream. With 2 children, this will be her roots from now on. For her own roots, of course she has to plan carefully and build a real paradise. She is not too envious of the crowds. Those big cities don't have much temptation for her. On the contrary, she liked this kind of peaceful and comfortable life even more. It's so nice and comfortable to go out when you have something to do and go to the mountains when nothing happens. And Hyans didn't delay. The first thing he did when he returned to the county was to find a house, and he also got 5,000 yuan from his wife. However, he gradually got used to taking money from his wife. The previous golden route was something he took from his wife. Once he got used to it, there was no sense of disobedience at all. Let's go to Uncle Zhao first. Hyans is not stupid. Why not use such a good helper? Uncle Zhao, Xiaoxiu is about to give birth. I came to you because I wanted you to help me find a house when the time comes. I can take Xiaoxiu to the county town to give birth and have a place for confinement. As soon as he arrived at Uncle Zhao's restaurant and saw Uncle Zhao, Hyans asked directly. Boss Zhao was happy when he heard this. Assuming you have a conscience, your aunt was still saying a few days ago that the conditions in the town are not as good as those in the county. She said, when should we tell Xiaoxiu and let him come to give birth? Boss Zhao sincerely regards Xiaoxiu as a friend and a junior. My wife, of course I have a conscience. Hyans was speechless. Uncle Zhao, are there any houses for sale around you? It doesn't matter if it's bigger, Hyans said with a smile. Yes, there is one, but it's just a small 4-box courtyard. It's not the brick house that you young people like. Do you want to go and see it? The old man and the others are used to living in a house with a 4-box courtyard, and so is their family. It's just a few steps. His family has a large population, so he has always lived in a 4-bedroom house. It cost a lot of money to buy that house. Okay, that kind of yard is the best. Xiaoxiu also said before that if you want to buy a house, buy one with a yard. Hyans was very happy when he heard that there was a house that his wife was satisfied with. Can you take me to see it? Hyans said excitedly. Sure, wait a minute, I'll ask your aunt to take you there. There are so many people in the store at this time, and I can't leave. After Zhao Laoxi said this, he turned around and went to the kitchen. Soon Aunt Jian came out and said, come on, Auntie will take you there. Don't tell me, the small courtyard is not far from our home. We will be close when we visit. Aunt Jian is most happy that Xiaoxiu can live in the county town. She likes both Mei Shui and Aunt He very much, and they are very kind-hearted. Then I'll trouble Auntie, Hyans said politely. Soon, Aunt Jian took Hyans to see the courtyard, which was very close to the street. It took 5 or 6 minutes to walk to the main street. Take another left at the intersection and there is the hospital, which is really close. Auntie, how much does this house cost? Hyans liked it at first sight. The courtyard here was very clean, and the kitchen was separated from the house. This kind of environment is what Xiaoxiu and Grandma liked the most. There were various flowers planted in the small courtyard, but he didn't recognize many of them. Falled in, Aunt Jian smiled, the owners here are also locals. They sold this house because their son had become successful and had to leave. Don't worry about the price. Auntie will go and negotiate for you. Back. Aunt Chien explained the reason why the host family sold the house. Sure, thank you, Auntie. He really didn't know how much a yard like this would cost, and Hans felt a little unsure. It seemed like he had to go to the store to get some money. Okay, come over for dinner in the evening, and my aunt will ask you later. She is not at home now. There were several big locks on the inner door. Okay, I'll come over and have a drink with Mr. Zhao Shuxi in the evening. Brother Qian came back with a lot of good wine this time. I couldn't even get some to drink at home, they all took it away. Sure, I'll tell Uncle Shi when the time comes and make him happy. The house matter was settled. Hans was afraid that he would not have enough money, so he went directly to the store. This store has almost become a signature in the town. It sells all kinds of modern electrical appliances, plus sister-in-law Xiao's clothing store, which makes each one more profitable than the other. As soon as he entered the store, Hans met Li Yu, and the smile on his face immediately dropped. There is no other way. There are 3 people in the store. Li Yu came because Li Fei asks Yang Yang for a favor. Li Yu had been unhappy for several days. When she saw Hans coming, she immediately ran over with a smile and said, "Brother He, you are here." Hansley ignored her and walked directly towards Fang Kai. This guy came to the store as a newlywed and seemed to be under a lot of pressure. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 205. Chapter 205, Li Yu makes trouble, please vote. Fang Kai, how much money do you have in the store now? We just bought the goods last time, and more than 10 days have passed, so we must have some money. Brother He, are you in need of money urgently? Fang Kai was stunned, but immediately said, the money for selling goods is all in the store. I will give it to you as much as you want. Because there are 2 people from the Li family in the store, Fang Kai is in charge of the money. It's not that she doesn't trust Li Fei, it's that she doesn't trust Li Yu. She is an outsider. Well, give me 5,000 first, and I'll return it to the store when the time comes. Hans asked for 5,000 as soon as he asked. Li Yu stood aside and was shocked when he heard this number. Oh my god, so much money? Brother He, what are you doing with the money? Hans was very annoyed and glared at Li Yu with an unhappy face. What does it have to do with you that I take the money? Also, please understand, I also own this store. He was really annoyed with this woman. Why didn't you find her so annoying before? Li Yu was stunned. Brother He, that's not what I meant. Don't get me wrong. I'm just asking. With so much money, you don't own the store alone. Hans was very happy. Yes, the store belongs to me alone, but what does it have to do with you? Does the store still belong to you? After saying that, Hans walked directly to Fang Kai. Give me the money first. I have something to do and I will tell you later. Fang Kai had no objection at all. He knew that brother He would not take money from the store if nothing happened. He wanted to make money more than anyone else, but he had no choice. His sister-in-law was too outstanding. Even on his wedding night, his wife was thinking about her sister-in-law. Okay, I'll count it for you. The business in the store is getting better and better, so there must be money. Li Yu, for some unknown reason, also stepped forward and patted Fang Kai's hand. No, you can't take the money unless you make it clear. She just wanted to know what he was doing with the money. There was always a bad voice in her heart telling her that the money was for that woman. She is a rural woman, is she worthy? Fang Kai's hand hurt. Li Yu, why are you crazy? If it weren't for Li Fei's sake, would this woman be able to enter their store? Is she worthy? What does it matter to you if brother He wants to take money? Besides, can this store be opened without brother He? He can take as much as he wants. I, Fang Kai, am the first to have no objection. Hians was also angry, but he didn't see Li Fei in the store and knew that he had been busy going on blind dates recently. He had no choice but to leave him unmarried among the three of them. Be more anxious and I will understand. However, this Li Yu, get out of here now. Our store is small and cannot afford to hire people like you. Also, remember, it is your brother who is our brother, not you. You are not qualified to fight against us. We are pointing fingers. Seeing the two grown men angry, Li Yu was actually very scared. You have to get my brother's permission to take the money. My brother still has a share of this store, Li Yu finally said with force. Heh, that's your brother too, not you. Get out of here right now, Hians yelled loudly, and even passers-by heard the sound. Everyone is looking at this store. Li Yu couldn't bear it anymore and ran out crying. Fang Kai had a gloomy look on his face. Brother, it seems that Li Fei needs to say something. If he can't accept it, then we shouldn't open this store. Fang Kai has been pampered by his family since he was a child. How could he have ever been so angry? My parents are both workers and my family is in good condition. Well, we'll talk about it then. Let's count out the money first. Your sister-in-law is about to give birth. I plan to buy a house. I only have the 5,000 yuan your sister-in-law gave me. I'm afraid it won't be enough. Hians calmed down and explained to Fang Kai. It's not that he didn't want to tell Li Yu, but why did he tell her? Who is she? It's time to buy it. What do you like about it? I'll go over with you in the afternoon and have a look. There are few rooms in his house, and there are more people, so he actually wants to buy it. But the store has only been open for so long, and I really don't have much money on hand. He wants to buy a bigger one but he really can't afford it, but he doesn't like that kind of small yard. Okay, let's go to Uncle Zhao's house for dinner tonight, and bring Jiao Jiao with you. I didn't even come to your wedding, and I can't help her as a cousin, Hians responded with a smile. I have to prepare an apology for her later, otherwise it will be bad if she says bad things about me to your sister-in-law. Thinking about the relationship between them, Hians felt hairy all over his body. Okay, thank you, brother, Fang Kai Pai said. After getting the money, Hians went to the bank and deposited the money. It was not safe to put so much money on him. Even though his skills are high now, he is still afraid of kitchen knives. He went to the motorcade again, and it was not until dinner time in the afternoon that he arrived at Uncle Zhao's shop. Recently, Xiang Yang went out in the car with brother Xiao, but it was very close and he could come back at night. These days, he has been running around nearby. He makes little money, but he can go home every day. Uncle Zhao, we are here. As soon as we entered the store, there were many people eating in the store. I'm waiting for you, come in quickly and come to the back. It's so boring to go to the front hall to eat by yourself. There is also a courtyard in the back kitchen, where we usually eat when our relatives come over. Don't mention it, the environment is really good. Uncle Shi, are you drunk? Hian smelled the smell of alcohol as soon as he brought Fang Kai and Jiao Jiao in. 2 side dishes and 2 cups were fried on the table. It seemed that Uncle Zhao and Uncle Shi were drinking. Who told you to come so late? Come here, brat, and let me have a drink with the old man. Uncle Shi was so excited. Fortunately, Hians knew that the medicinal wine Xioxia brewed this time was tonic. Because the first time, the amount was smaller, so it would be okay to drink more. If the amount is sufficient, you can only drink at least 1 cup a day. Too much is to make up for it. So, Chinese medicine is broad and profound. Old man, please take it easy, Xioxiu said, wine is not a good thing. Drinking too much will harm your health. Hians was not polite to him. Go directly to the table and sit down. He also asked Fang Kai to sit down with He Jiao Jiao. The old man took a look at Fang Kai and He Jiao Jiao and took out a box from under the table. Here, I heard that you just got married. This is my meeting gift, old man. There is nothing valuable inside, just a silver longevity lock. Fortunately, Mei Shui didn't see it, otherwise, the watermelon would have been given away for nothing. This longevity lock is from wholesale. Send it to someone when you see it. He Jiao and Fang Kai were shocked. Old man, this is not a gift from you. Fang Kai was not stupid, and he knew at a glance that this old man was not an ordinary person. Of course, it was only Mei Shui and Grandma He who regarded the old man as a normal person back then. Come here, I'll just keep it for you. It's not a valuable thing. Uncle Shi blocked it with a wave of his hand. Hians also knew what Uncle Shi meant. Okay, don't worry about it, just keep it. If you have some delicious food in the future, just give it to the old man. Vote all. Thanks babies. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 206. Chapter 206. Chapter 205, New Ideas for Fruit. Even if this matter is over, Aunt Jian is also a sensible person and prepared things for them. She also looked at Hians with an accusing look on her face. It seems to blame him for not telling them earlier that they came. These things are the same as when I prepared them for Mei Shui last time. Now I take them out to give away. It's really sorry. Just like Uncle Shi, he bought too many things. Uncle Shi is so generous that he will buy as much as others give him. After dinner, Aunt Jian took them to meet the host's family, because she had negotiated the price, which was 4,080. This price was not low in the local area, it was a bit high, but she did not take away any of the furniture inside. He took Xinruo away, so Aunt Jian thought it was worth it at this price, and she had some discernment. The furniture inside was all old stuff, and it was a complete set, so it was worth it. At the beginning, the asking price was only 5,800 yuan. If she could negotiate for 1,000 yuan, Aunt Jian would be a great person. Since it was too late, Hians made an agreement with the landlord and agreed to hand over the house tomorrow morning and check in on the property. To this, the landlord agreed wholeheartedly. The one I have to talk about is the Li family. After Li Fei learned about what happened in the morning in the afternoon, he got angry as soon as he got home. He was mainly angry that his sister didn't even look at her and rushed forward despite knowing that she was disgusted with you. How many times have I told you, please stay out of brother He's affairs. Don't worry about it, can't you hear me? As soon as he got home, Li Fei was furious at Li Yu, throwing and beating him. And Li Yu was also frightened by his brother's appearance. She hid directly behind her mother and said with a frightened look on her face, "Mom, I didn't mean it. I really just thought about him." At this time, Li Yu still said such words, which made Li Yu jump with anger. Fart, who is brother He? Do you need to care about him? He has a wife and the child is about to be born. Who are you to ask? Li Fei cursed. If his mother hadn't stopped him, I really wanted to go up and beat him up. Father Li understood what she was doing, and his daughter had changed unknowingly. Forget it Sci-fi, go and apologize to Ans for this. Your sister will never go to your store again. It's embarrassing. After saying this, Father Li's waist was bent. My mother, please find someone to marry her as soon as possible. Don't even think about Xiang Yang. Don't let such a girl harm such a good guy. Father Li walked into the room after saying this. He knows the situation at home better than anyone else. If it weren't for Xiao Fei, their family might not even be able to have a full meal. People should be grateful and grateful. Dad Li Yu was frightened by his father's words. Mom, I don't want to get married, I don't want to. After saying that, Li Yu burst into tears. It's a pity that no one cares about her. Mom, don't go out these days. Just watch her at home. Find someone to marry. Marry farther away. At worst, I will give you more as a dowry. Li Fei really didn't want to lose 2 lives just because of such a sister. A good brother. Without them, he would have starved to death on the street. Mother Li nodded with tears in her eyes. Okay, Mom knows, Mom understands. Li Yu was dumbfounded. In this way, Li Yu disappeared from public view. Li Fei also went to express his humility to He Ans and Fang Kai the next day. The two of them didn't say anything. They just said that they didn't want to see Li Yu in the future, and Li Fei agreed. But there cannot be no one in the store to watch. Sometimes Li Fei or Fang Kai is not in the store, and there must be someone in the store to watch. In the end, it was He Ans who asked He Jiao to come and see the store, and then the person was chosen. He Jiao can get along well with his wife, so he must have a good temper. It happened that she was very bored at home alone. Now she had something to do, and she happily took over the job. There is still a salary of 40 yuan per month. It is much richer than her making clothes. Speak to the other side. Anwen and his friends also seal jars for their wine. And the drunkard uncle in the village does not do casual business, and concentrates on brewing wine for them. The work in the fields is almost done, and the rice in the fields has been harvested, so it's time to pay the grain. On this day, Grandma He found He Jiankei and gave him 100 yuan, asking him to help pay for the public food. Xiaoxiu was reluctant to sell her rice, so she had to pay the price. Grandma He complained a lot about these things, but thinking that there were more mouths in the house, she didn't say anything. Originally, my family has only a small amount of land, and the yield is not too high, so it is just right to protect our family all year round. However, when the two children are born, they will still be allocated fields and mountains, but Xiao will not have any. He is a godson, and even if the household registration is in He Ans's name, the villagers will not recognize it, so he will not have any land. Grandma He didn't have much thought about this. The worst she could do was save a few bites for herself and save it for him. After school started, Anwen and Anshan were the only two people brewing wine at home. Since the cost was equally divided, Anshan's capital was used, so the amount of medicinal wine was limited. In the first year, it doesn't matter if you endure it for a while. After the wine incident was over, Anshan followed and went to the back mountain to catch animals in Mei Shui's vegetable field. This kind of income is quite a lot throughout the year, and Wen earns no less than 4 or 5,000. Anshan, are you really not going to school? Anwen felt a little pity. Anshan looked into the distance and said, I won't go. What will happen to my mother if I leave? Even though his mother sometimes loves his brother more, she is still the mother who gave birth to him. His dad, stop talking. It's a pity that you are in the first year of high school this year. If you stop studying, you will regret it in the future. And Wen sighed. It's okay. I have no regrets. Nothing is more important than living up to my parents, Anshan said happily. Xiaobai was having fun in the vegetable field, running here and jumping there. Walking to the back of the mountain, Anwen looked at the fruit trees and exclaimed in surprise, oh my god, these fruits are too big. How did my sister-in-law grow them? There are not just one kind of fruit trees planted on the back mountain, but many kinds. Like peaches, plums, loquats, plums, etc. Let's not talk about plums. They are still early and not yet red. But what happened to the peach? This is only the first year since I planted it, and it has actually produced fruit. It's so big. Let's go to Anshan and pick some. Because they are wild peach trees in the mountains, they mature very late, most of them have to go to the end of September or early October. Unlike March peaches, they can be eaten shortly after the new year and as soon as the sun rises. This kind of peach is originally very small, the largest is no more than the size of a child's fist, and most of them are as big as a walnut. But it just smells like wild peach, delicious, but different from hairy peaches. Of course, through grafting in space, these tree species have already changed. Brother Anwen, it's easy to pick because it's short here. The two of them quickly ran down the back hill and came to the peach tree. Is it soft? Anwen stepped forward and squeezed. Hey, it's soft, quick, quick, pick some and give them to my sister-in-law and third grandma to taste. And when moved quickly. Don't stop voting, darlings, monthly tickets are recommended, just throw them all in, the author is not afraid of pain. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 207. Chapter 207, Transition, please vote for recommendation. Anshin was not far behind either. He didn't catch a single game all morning, but he picked a lot of peaches. As for Mei Shui, she was bored and making clothes for the children with Li Shuang. I don't know what she was thinking about doing so many things. Sister-in-law, do you want to make 2 quilts for the children? Li Shuang said, looking at Mei Shui, who was about to fall asleep. Mai Xiu was stunned for a moment, then thought for a while. No, there are already several quilts, so there is no need to make any more. Any more would be useless, they are so small, and they won't be used when they grow older. Okay, I'm thinking of asking Brother and when to buy some cotton to make a quilt in 2 days. Want to buy cotton? Then ask him to bring some back to me. Winter is coming soon, so I need to prepare more quilts for Xiao. There is enough at home, but there is nothing to replace. Okay, let's talk to him when he comes back. While chatting, the two of them heard someone shouting outside the house. What are you doing? Mei Shui stood up holding the chair and looked outside. Soon I saw Anwen and the others, and saw that they were carrying a large backpack. What are you arguing about? Hearing Mei Shui's voice, the two of them stopped struggling. Originally, Anwen said that his sister-in-law was at his home, but Anshin didn't believe it. His sister-in-law didn't like going to other people's homes, so how could she go to his home? Look, I said my sister-in-law must be at home. Anwen was speechless. He also heard his wife say something in the morning, saying that he would ask his sister-in-law to come and sit at home. Sister-in-law, look what we brought back for you. And Shan could only show his shyness in front of Mei Shui. You smell it, it's peaches, right? Are the peaches on the mountain ripe? Mei Shui didn't know the seasons very well, and she didn't know when anything would be ripe. Don't say it, it's good to have sharp 5 senses. No, sister-in-law, look, these peaches are so fragrant. Anshin took out the largest, softest, and reddest peach from his hand as if he were offering a treasure. Mei Shui would not be polite to him and took it directly. Really, Xiang, Shuang, stop doing this and come over and eat. He didn't forget to shout to Li Shuang. Would Li Shuang not eat? His man is still standing here. Li Shuang's belly is no longer small now. Her belly is more than 6 months old and looks like a watermelon, big and round. I often hear Aunt Zillion talk about giving birth to a daughter for the first time, probably because she is afraid of putting pressure on Li Shuang. In rural areas, there is a certain preference for boys over girls. But it's not that serious. After giving birth to a daughter, it's most likely that she will have another child. Generally, there will be 2 children in the family, and the old people say this is called having company. They dumped the peaches in the 2 baskets on the ground. Not to mention, they tasted really good. Seeing so many fruits, Mei Shui's heart skipped a beat and she thought of something. Anshin Anwen, does the back mountain bear much fruit? If possible, there will be good wine at home by then, but it will only take a longer time. There are many. We only visited a few peach trees. We haven't seen the loquat or plum trees yet, but the plum trees also have a lot of fruit. Anwen replied. Well, it almost bent the tree. Hearing this, Mei Shui was happy. If you two have nothing to do recently, help me pick all the fruits. Also, help me buy 2 big vats from the town. The bigger the better. Mei Shui is a little excited. The two of them were a little confused. Are you going now? Anshan asked in embarrassment. Well, it's best to go now. If you two are tired of picking, then ask another person to pick all the ripe fruits. Mei Shui saw Anshan's dilemma. Anshan, you don't have to be in such a hurry. Don't go to town, just let your brother and Wen go. Hearing this, Anshan felt a little embarrassed. Sister-in-law, my mother can't live without me. I know, don't think too much. Just help me pick fruits when you have time. Of course, you will have to pay for the wages. Mei Shui has no intention of letting them work as coolies, and she will certainly give them what they deserve. Sister-in-law, I'm going to get angry when you say this. Anshan and Anwen immediately stopped working when they heard about the wages. It's easy to pick fruits, so why talk about wages? This will be ignored. Seeing how angry they were, Mei Shui smiled and said, okay, I won't give you any money. I'll treat you to a meal when the time comes, but you have to do it yourself. Anshan and Anwen rested for a while and then went to the back mountain again. Mixue doesn't plan to wash these fruits, the original flavor is the most beautiful. Without inviting anyone, it took the two of them 3 days to pick all the ripe fruits. As for the jars and other things, I also asked Uncle Jinnan to bring them back during the gathering. Each jar can hold at least 100 kilograms. Unfortunately, there are too many fruits and not enough jars. There happened to be some unripe fruits, so Mei Shui asked He Jinnan to help her bring back 5 more vats the next time she went to the market. Looking at these large tanks in the courtyard, Mei Shui felt for the first time that she was too wise. This place in the old house was the best place to store her things. Throughout September, all the fruits in the back mountain, except for plums, were collected and filled into 5 large vats. There were also 2 large vats of 100 kilograms left at home. Mei Shui had nothing to do, so all of them were used to brew plum wine. This year, An Cheng and An Shan joined the team, so everyone made the plum wine together, but Mei Shui did not add space water to it. Anyway, the plum trees on those mountains are grown using space water. When the fruits were not ripe, the animals ran here one by one without fear of death. It is cheaper than Anshan and Anwen. The two of them are not solitary eaters. After selling the food when Boss Jian came, they took out 100 yuan to improve the food for everyone. Where to eat? Of course it is at Anwen's house. Whoever has his house closest, whether it is Mei Shui or Li Shuang, is very convenient. At this dinner, He Zhengting was made to cry, but no one said anything when he heard his confession. In the end, Anshan said something to him to stop drinking, and then he helped the man back. Aunt Ting's waist can't be used, and she will have to wait for at least more than a year before she can move. She also looked at Anshan's changes with red eyes, and thanked everyone one by one. In this regard, Aunt Mei Lian and Aunt Zillian tried to explain her. Even Grandma He didn't even listen to a word and took Xiao home directly. I need to help him take a bath, change clothes, etc. He has to go to school tomorrow. When Mei Shui came back, Xiao and Grandma were watching TV, Journey to the West, in the living room. Grandma He scolded her, but she felt sorry for Xiao. No, she didn't even take the TV away from him. Grandma Xiao, I'm back. Mom hearing the voice, Xiao turned around and stood up. Slow down, I'll help you. The little man stepped forward to help Mei Shui, who was carrying a big belly. But as she counted the days, Mei Shui felt that the child in her belly might not come out until the full moon. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 208. Chapter 208, Go to the county seat, asking for monthly ticket. Grandma, I want to go to the county town to find ants tomorrow. My stomach is moving more and more. I'm afraid they will be born early. Mei Shui sat on the chair and said to her grandma. Grandma He nodded, okay, let Anwen take you there tomorrow. They say the twins will be born early, so don't be afraid. It's almost a month before the birth. She comforted Mei Shui. Well, I know, but I thought if I go there earlier, I can prepare earlier. It's like this. Let Anwen deliver it to you tomorrow. Just wait until you eat. I'll kill the chicken in a few days and deliver it to you then. Grandma, he was actually very nervous. But you can't see it at all on your face. Of course, just don't squeeze your hands so tightly. Xiao felt very reluctant. Mom, can I take leave to accompany you to give birth to your brothers? Mei Shui smiled and shook her head. No, don't worry, I won't be gone for too long. I still have my wife and Xiao Bai at home. Xiao is a man, so I have to take good care of my wife and them, you know. You brat, who needs him to take care of me? Grandma, he glared at Xiao angrily. Your mother is going to give birth to a baby, what's the use of you following her? Xiao felt aggrieved. I play with my brother and the others, he said unconvinced. Come on, you're so young, what are you playing with? Are you playing with me, Grandma? He was ruthless. Looking at the cross-eyed look between Xiao and Grandma, Mei Shui felt relieved and said, good boy, can Xiao stay with my wife at home? Mom is worried if my wife is alone at home. Okay then. Hearing what his mother said, he resisted the urge to follow her. Then I will stay at home with my wife. She must be very lonely at such an old age. Grandma, he quit. You bastard, your skin is itchy, aren't you? Go to bed and don't go to school tomorrow. So, Chen Yu was driven back to the room. There is still a copy of Journey to the West in the living room, but it's a pity that he doesn't share it anymore. Mei Shui was very excited to see it. Grandma, don't worry, I'll be fine, I can take care of myself along the way. Mei Shui saw the worry in her grandma's eyes. Okay, go and pack quickly to see if there is anything you need to take away. Forget it, there is nothing to pack, just food for the children. You can buy it on the street by then. This packing is several big bags, but Grandma, he knows that it is useless and troublesome to bring more. Anyway, she will come back after her confinement there, so she doesn't need to bring too many things. He lost some more, but this time there was no way he could lose any more. Okay, just one pack, and when can carry it? This big bag weighs at least 50 kilograms. Fortunately, Anwen has the strength, otherwise. Mei Shui takes action whenever she wants, but he also counts his days. As soon as the end of September passed, he started to add things to his new home, including pots and pans, as well as bedding, which he bought ready-made. It took several days to wash and dry. As soon as the National Day was over, he couldn't wait any longer and told Xiang Yang and Fang Kai that he planned to pick them up the next day. But before he could leave, there was a knock on the door of his home. Hians did not move to a new home, but still lived in the house he rented here before. It's already afternoon and I don't know who is coming. Who is it? Wait a minute, Hians, who was taking a bath, shouted outside. Hurrying to get dressed, Hians opened the door and said, Xiaoxiu. He was shocked when he saw his wife. Anwen, why are you here? Hians was excited. Meixiu was a little tired. She had walked all the way and her belly was so big. How could she not be tired? Stop talking, let me sit down for a while. My feet are numb. As the months got older, Mei Shui's originally thin and lean feet became thicker. Mei Shui walked behind Anwen. The door here was small, completely blocking Mei Shui's figure. Hians was very excited when he heard Mei Shui's voice. Xiaoxiu, you are here too, come on, come in, you must be tired. Pulling Anwen over, Hians immediately went to help him. I'm tired, I'm very tired, please let me sit down for a while, my legs hurt. Not only my legs hurt, but my whole body was very tired. Okay, come on, come and sit down. Why are you here in the county? Fortunately, I'm at home. What would you do if I wasn't at home? He was very worried about her because it was such a long journey. You have to come even if you're not here. I've been feeling restless lately and the baby may be about to be born. If he hadn't told her to go to the county town to give birth to the baby, would she have come? Ah, let's go to the hospital now, Hien said anxiously. Meixiu rolled her eyes at him angrily, and when and I haven't had lunch yet. Get us something to eat quickly. We're hungry. As soon as Anwen came in, he sat on the only stool. He didn't expect that Brother An's conditions here in the county were so bad, not half as good as those in the village. Brother Ans, please stay with your sister-in-law, I will do it. He was not tired, but he was hungry. It's not that I didn't want to eat on the way, but I was worried about my sister-in-law, so I had to rush back first. No, I'll make you a bowl of noodles. You take a rest first. Hians heard this and of course he made it himself. Mei Shui saw Anwen getting up and immediately stopped him. Just sit down. Aren't you tired after carrying all the things on your back? Seeing this, he could only sit down and rest. After seeing that he was a little embarrassed, Mei Shui immediately ordered, help me take out all the things you brought. Help me put the children's clothes and other things on the bed. There were also some dried vegetables inside. Mei Shui thought the clothes might be stained with smell, so she had better take them out first. Okay. Hians moved very quickly, and within a short time he had 2 large bowls of noodles. People walking outside saw him making noodles and smiled and said a few words to him. After learning that his wife and brother were here, each of them was very polite and took out 1 or 2 eggs from the house to add to Mei Shui's meal. Don't worry, these neighbors are a bit noisy, but they have good intentions. After thanking everyone one by one, Hians entered the house carrying noodles. Come over and eat quickly, I'll sort out the things, he said to Anwen. Anwen had already smelled the fragrance and said without hesitation, yeah. Mei Shui also slowly walked to the small table, picked up her chopsticks and started eating. These salted duck eggs taste good, you too can eat some with the noodles. The salted duck eggs were what Fang Mu asked him to bring back last time. She made them herself. There is oil in them and each one is very fragrant. Meixiu needed 2 of them directly, gave one to Anwen, and peeled the other one to eat. Xiaoxiu, why has the child bothered you recently? Why don't we go to the hospital for a checkup in the afternoon? Hians was still very worried. Well, I have to go to the hospital to have a look. Mei Shui nodded and agreed. She didn't know what the child's condition was now. When she asked Xiaobai only said that the children were about to be born. It doesn't understand anything else. The baby is about to be born. Come and give the baby a name. The author's name is useless. Asking for recommendation votes and monthly votes. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 209. Chapter 209, Production, please vote for recommendation. In the afternoon, Mei Shui rested for a while. When she went to the hospital, she almost got off work. Fortunately, the doctor didn't get off work last time, so Hians took Mei Shui directly to her. After the examination, the doctor said that the child was born and that he was not far away from birth. If the family members were worried, he would ask them to be hospitalized. As soon as Hians heard this, he decided to be hospitalized. It happened that Anwen was at home, and he couldn't sleep at home at night. Mei Shui was admitted to the hospital that afternoon. The next day, Hians sent Anwen on the bus back to town. He went directly to Boss Zhao's shop and asked him to cook a chicken and stew some soup. When Aunt Jian heard that Hians had arrived, she asked and found out that Mei Shui was in the hospital. She immediately took off her apron and asked, in which ward? Which floor is it? After asking clearly, she asked Hians to wait for the food here, and she went directly to the hospital. As soon as Mei Shui woke up from her sleep, she saw Aunt Jian sitting in front of her bed, helping her with the children's clothes. Aunt Jian, why are you here? Mei Shui asked immediately as soon as she woke up. I don't know if it's because children are bullying good and afraid of evil. Once she arrived at the hospital, she slept much more peacefully. Xiaoxiu is awake, come here, my aunt will help you up. I am counting the days and plan to go to the village to see you in 2 days. I think it's time for you to come to the county seat. Well, I think the children are too noisy and their stomachs are always very bloated, so I came here by myself yesterday. We have never given birth to twins before, so we don't know much about them. Fortunately, you are alert. It would have been difficult if we had twins on the road, Aunt Jian said with a worried look. I just woke up and drank some water. Come on, I've already warmed it for you. Aunt Jian stepped forward and handed the warm water to Mei Shui's hand. Tell Aunt what you want to eat these days. Aunt will bring it to you every day. You have to eat better before giving birth, otherwise what will you do if you don't have the strength? You are two of us. Aunt Jian is a woman herself and knows all too well the pain and difficulty of childbirth. Thank you, Aunt Jian. I may have to trouble you these days. Mei Shui was not polite. Hans, a grown man, really didn't understand many things. You're being polite with my aunt. Would you like to get up and walk around, looking at the weather outside? It's not bad, the sun is shining slightly. Well, I'll go to the toilet first. Auntie, wait a minute. She didn't want to lie in bed every day, so she had to move when she could. Okay, Aunt will help you go. Fortunately, the two of them are not short of money. With a little more money, they can live in a double ward, which will also have enough bed for the baby to sleep on after he is born. With the addition of a patient companion, the double ward is just right. With the help of Aunt Jian, Mei Shui went down to the third floor. After walking around the hospital, Hian's figure appeared in her eyes. No one could determine the day when Mei Shui's twins would be born. She stayed in the hospital for 7 or 8 days before she started to get started. It hurt so much when she woke up in the morning. Mei Shui felt as if her stomach was being stirred by someone, and her whole body was awakened by the pain. Hians happened to bring her breakfast back. As soon as he entered the door, he heard Xiaoxia crying out in pain and immediately walked to the bed. What's wrong? What's wrong? What no one noticed was that Hian's hands were shaking and his feet were shaking a little. Call the doctor, my stomach hurts. Mei Shui endured the pain and said. Hians felt a little dizzy, but he suppressed his panic and said, okay, right away, right away. After saying that, he immediately turned around and went out, shouting outside. Nurse, where is the nurse doctor? Where is Dr. Huang? My wife is about to give birth. His shout immediately alarmed everyone on the third floor, but everyone knows that pregnant women are like this. If there is any trouble, they have to call the doctor. This is just walking before the gate of hell. Everyone can understand it if the voice is louder. Besides, Hians gets along very well with these next-door neighbors on weekdays. Soon the nurses took action, some went to the doctor, and some went directly to the ward. After seeing the sweat on the mother's head, she immediately went to check. After checking, everyone was a little surprised. Relax, your amniotic water has broken and you are about to give birth. Don't be nervous. Come on and follow me. A leading nurse was very experienced and immediately checked out the situation and comforted the mother. Mixu also knew that she couldn't be nervous at this time and had to obey the doctor's instructions. She followed the nurse step by step. When the doctor came over, he saw that the mother had adjusted her breathing. Hurry, push into the delivery room. Dr. Huang is an old doctor in his 50s. He has rich experience and can tell the condition of the mother at a glance. To be careful, you need to check after entering the delivery room. Hians was blocked outside. After he was helped into the delivery room, a young nurse blocked Hian's steps. Family members are not allowed in here, so don't worry, the mother is in good health now. Go and prepare the baby's clothes and bring them over. These steps are very familiar to nurses and doctors, and they know very well what to do and what not to do. Okay, my horse, I'll get it right away. Hians was not only nervous, but also scared, but he also knew that he could only listen to the doctor at this time. Step by step, I walked to the ward, and then picked up the clothes that Aunt Jian had divided yesterday. The first pack was for the baby when he was born. There are diapers, small clothes and blankets inside. Since there are 2 children, there are a lot of things. After Mei Shui entered the delivery room, Dr. Huang smiled after checking her. 6 fingers were opened. It seems that these 2 children love their mother very much. Dr. Huang looked at Mei Shui and said. Meixiu was in so much pain that she was almost going crazy. She was in no mood to pay attention to the doctor's words. Okay, wait a little longer, we will give birth soon, don't worry, don't be nervous. No one outside the delivery room knew what was going on in the delivery room. After Hians handed the things to the nurse, he was locked out and walked around anxiously. I don't know how much time passed, but there was still no movement at all. Hians became anxious. He started beating the door that blocked him. The nurse inside heard the sound and ran over. What are you taking pictures of? I wonder if someone is giving birth inside. This will affect the mother. An older nurse came out very seriously and scolded Hians outside. Hians didn't care at all. He just wanted to know how his wife was doing now. After asking, the older nurse pushed him away and said, the mother is fine. She is about to give birth. Don't make any noise. It will be bad if you disturb the mother then. Not only is your wife giving birth here, but also people can't be too selfish when there are others. Hians only came to his senses a little at this time, and immediately apologized to the nurse. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it. He also apologized to the patient's family members beside him. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 210. Chapter 210, Mei Shui is about to be discharged from the hospital. It's okay, it's okay. Don't worry, young man. This woman doesn't give birth so quickly. Come and sit in the back, a kind-hearted lady said with a smile. After the nurse saw that the family members had no objections, she left and asked everyone to wait. An hour passed, and 2 women came out, both giving birth to daughters. These family members may be smiling or unhappy, but these matters have nothing to do with Hians. Aunt Jian comes frequently these days, and even comes early. At about 9 o'clock, she didn't see Mei Shui in the ward when she came over. She only found out after asking that she was about to give birth. Hurrying to the delivery room, she walked over after seeing Hians circling anxiously. Ans, how is Xiaoxiu? When did you go in? How long has it been? As soon as Aunt Jian came up, she asked Hians about the situation. Hearing what Aunt Jian said, Hians opened his mouth and said, I don't know how Xiaoxiu is doing yet. The nurse said she is in good condition. She went in at 7:30. It's okay, Aunt Jian breathed a sigh of relief after hearing that she went in after 7 o'clock. Quick, come and sit down, it's not that fast to have a baby. Knowing that he had never experienced anything like this, Aunt Jian forced him to sit down and rest. Giving a baby is not that fast. From the pain to the birth, it takes at least 2 or 3 hours. If it is slow, it can take several days. Hians was a little scared, but the doctor said that Xiaoxiu's amniotic water has broken. If the birth lasts for several days and nights, what will she and the baby do? You brat, if your amniotic water breaks, hurry up. It's okay. Just wait for a while. It'll be fine in a while. Aunt Jian heard that the amniotic water had broken, and now that it had been so long, she thought it would come soon. As Aunt Jian guessed, Mei Shui's delivery went smoothly, and there was no life and death separation like in novels and TV. The 2 children were very obedient and came out one after another. The difference between them was only more than 10 seconds. It shocked even Dr. Huang, a veteran doctor of several decades. It is said that these children love their mother. Mei Shui lost her spirit throughout her life and had no strength at all. There are many people here, and she cannot drink space water or repair her body. She could only let the doctors and nurses move around on her body. The mother still had to deal with it, and the baby couldn't freeze here. She asked Mei Shui to take a look at her baby, and then tied a small rope around the baby's back as a mark. After that, he told the mother and sent the child directly. Outside, several nurses followed him out. "Where are the family members of maternal Mei Shui?" the nurses shouted outside. As soon as he heard about Mei Shui, he and Aunt Jian stood up and said, "Here it is, here it is. Then you come here and sign, and take the children back to the ward first. Don't let them freeze," the nurse told the family members responsibly. Hians glanced at the child and then looked behind the nurses. "Where is my wife? Where is my wife?" When he saw no one behind them, Hians became anxious. When the nurses saw the mother and the man worried about her, they all had a better impression of him. "Don't worry, the mother still has some follow-up matters to deal with. She will be out in a while. Now take the children back and feed them some milk powder or sugar water, don't feed too much." "Okay, okay, okay, thank you, nurse, thank you." This happened suddenly. "We didn't prepare red eggs, and we can't treat you to a happy occasion." I'm sorry, Aunt Jian is a person who has been here, the governor. Hians also had a child in his arms. He wanted to wait here but he couldn't even say it. It's okay, it's okay. You go back with the children first. Both children are boys. Mother and child are safe. Don't worry, go back quickly. The nurses have seen a lot and are not greedy for the few eggs, but they do like these two children. She is pink and tender when she is born, and she looks better than other children who are 1 month old. The child was hugged very tightly. Because he was still young and could not see the wind, Hians and Aunt Jian could not see the child's appearance yet. Without further ado, the two of them carried the child and walked to the ward. Those who heard that twins were born were very envious, especially after the two children were boys. They were all sour. In the ward, Hians put the child down and said to Aunt Jian, "Aunt Jian, please look after the child while I wait for Xiaoxiu." As soon as he said that, he ran out. Aunt Jian was very speechless, but she was also very happy for Xiaoxiu in her heart. Marrying a man who loves her so much will definitely lead a good life. After waiting for almost half an hour, Hians returned to the ward with Mei Shui. With water hanging on Mei Shui's hands and unable to move, Hians carried her from the bed to his hospital bed. "Xiaoxiu, you go to bed first. Aunt Jian and I are here, don't worry." Hians had been worried about Xiaoxiu, and when he saw that she was still awake after giving birth, he immediately comforted her. Mei Shui glanced at Aunt Jian and wanted to speak, but she was very tired and had no strength at all, so she blinked. "Go to sleep quickly, you will be strong when you wake up." Aunt Jian also understood what Mei Shui meant. Mei Shui fell asleep peacefully, and the children cried twice, maybe because they were hungry. Hians and Mei Shui had already made preparations, and there were milk powder in the ward, so they were not afraid of them being hungry. You can also let Mei Shui have a good sleep. Mei Shui stayed in the hospital for half a month. There was nothing that could be done. Hians was worried. Even if Mei Shui's body recovered, he still felt that the hospital was safer and he could call a doctor immediately if anything happened. In half a month, Hians took a day to go back to his hometown. I reported Mei Shui's situation to my grandma. After learning that the child was born more than 20 days early, Grandma he was very worried. I immediately said I wanted to come to the county town, but fortunately Hians persuaded me to stop. Otherwise, what would Xiao do? At this time, Xiao also resented why he was so young. If he were older, he could go to the county town to see his mother. Hans brought back more than a dozen chickens from his home overnight, and put them all with Uncle Zhao, asking him to stew one for Xiaoxiu every day to replenish his health. Who is Boss Zhao? He is a rich man. Not only did he stew chicken for Mei Shui, but he also bought a lot of food supplements to stew together, which made Qian Xiang's wives jealous. Uncle Shi was also restless. After learning that Mei Shui had given birth to a baby, he ran to the hospital every day, taking with him his chess set, which was said to be a source of wisdom for the babies. He just came here to eat and drink. Within half a month, Mei Shui had already used space water to condition her body to a better state. Hans, I want to be discharged from the hospital. She has said she was going to be discharged from the hospital countless times. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 211. Chapter 211, Returning to the village, asking for monthly votes. Hans held his eldest son in his arms and said, "No, I'll go home with you after 1 month. The new home he bought last time has not yet been moved in by his wife. You've already bought a house, why are you staying in the hospital? It's a waste of money day by day. It would be great to save the money and let grandma count it for fun." Looking at Mei Shui's unhappy face, Hans felt a little guilty, but for her and her children, he had to stay in this hospital. Aunt Qian was really confused and said, "Hans, there is something wrong with you. The child and Xiaoxiu are both sick. Why are you living in the hospital? Isn't it nice to go home?" She really couldn't bear it anymore. It would be great to go home. There is a small courtyard and it is so close. Aunt Qian, it's not like you don't know that a child at such a young age will definitely get sick easily. Besides, Xiaoxiu is still in confinement, so it's very convenient to be in the hospital. If anything happens, you can call the doctor. Just spend more money, he has money. He didn't dare to say this. He had said it before and was scolded half to death by his wife. "Do you think Xiaoxiu and the children look sick? I think you are sick, and you are very seriously ill." Aunt Qian really wanted to go back and invite Aunt He. Not only Aunt Qian scolded Hans, but Uncle Zhao and Uncle Shi also took turns. In the end, Mei Shui insisted, and they returned to their new home. On the day she came back, Aunt Qian asked Boss Zhao to cook a large table of dishes and invited all those who had given gifts recently. Needless to say, Aunt Qian was very moved by Mei Shui. Apart from her grandma, she was the first person to care about her like this. She cared about everything and did everything personally. On the same day, He Jiao and others arrived at Mei Shui's new home early. Seeing the environment here, everyone was very envious. He Jiao and Fang Kai are also interested in buying a new house. So I also asked Boss Zhao if there were any houses for sale nearby. But unfortunately, this kind of small yard is rarely sold unless there is a prodigal son in the family. On this day, everyone watches children playing with children, which is called joy. After sending everyone away, they were the only family of 4 in the room. Hans put the waiter, who had just finished drinking, on their little bed. "Xiaoxiu, you don't have enough milk, otherwise you should stop feeding her." I don't know what happened, but Xiaoxiu drank chicken soup every day, but she couldn't produce milk. There is nothing anyone can do about this. "Well, you can go buy more milk powder and come back tomorrow." She also knew that her body had recovered very well, and her milk supply had been less in the past few days. It was impossible to feed 2 children. She could only feed 1 baby a day at most. Just a pause. "Sure, Xiaoxiu, do you really want to go home after 1 month? Can't we live in the county town?" He was very reluctant to leave his wife and children. "It's not comfortable to live here when I go home. Besides, Grandma doesn't want to leave. Every time during the New Year or festival, Grandma would go and sit on the 3 graves at home." She knew that Grandma was reluctant to leave her grandfather, son, and daughter-in-law. Besides, her dream of the manor has not yet been completed. Life at home is so easy, and food is free, but here, you have to spend money to eat and drink, and it's very unpalatable. Don't you enjoy eating space food? Hyans knew that no matter how much he tried to persuade her, she would not listen to him, and he could only follow her in the end. Then are you willing to leave me? He felt really sad. I'm willing to give it up. Besides, why don't you go back every month? Mei Shui said with a smile. Hyans died. After Mei Shui returned home, Mr. Zhao, who was in much better health, asked Uncle Shi to visit Mei Shui every day. The reputation is that we want to enlighten the children together, but in fact, he also comes to eat and drink. Mei Shui was not used to eating vegetables bought in the county town, so she asked Hyans to go back and bring a lot of fresh or dried vegetables. Don't mention it, the taste is beautiful. They are not the only ones who are thinking about these dishes. The Gu family in Mingcheng is also thinking about them. It's just that they couldn't buy much, and they couldn't ask for leave, so it was difficult to buy more. Hyans would send a few letters each time. I haven't sent them food for a long time recently, and I've sent several letters, but no reply at all. How can Hyans have any time? Not only does he take care of his wife every day, he also has to take care of 2 brats. How can I care about those things? It was midway through November, and Mei Shui was out of confinement, and the new year was getting closer and closer. Mei Shui didn't want to celebrate the new year in the county town, and she kept talking about going back these days. And Hyans was busy. There was a big deal with the motorcade, so he and the other 2 had to press the car together. He was very reluctant, but Xiang Yang and the others relied on this money to celebrate the new year, so how could they miss it? So I found Mei Shui, told her about the situation in the motorcade, and asked her if she could borrow Hyans for a while. Of course, Mei Shui was not interested and asked him to take him away quickly. It made the 2 of them faint with laughter. Hyans was so angry that he ate her on the 2nd day after her full moon, without showing any pity. Mei Shui was speechless. She was very strong, but Hyans' strength after training was no less than hers, and she lost to him every time. This made Mei Shui feel stuck in her heart. So, the day after Hyans left, she left the county town. Knowing that Aunt Jian and the others would be worried about her, she left secretly, of course, leaving them a message. She can easily travel alone. During her confinement period, she had already done experiments. Her child could enter the space, which made her way back easier. Whether it was things or children, she put them all into the space, and Mei Shui caught the early train back to Chenxin town. After arriving in the town, I found a deserted place, took out the stroller, and put everything into the backpack. I don't know if she was counting the days and it happened to be the day of the big fair. Let's first go to the place where the carriage is parked to see if Uncle Jinan and the others are there. If she was there, she could directly drive them back. While walking towards the place where the carriage was parked, Mei Shui also passed by the place where Aunt Mei Lian and others set up their stall. Seeing their business getting better and better, Mei Shui was also very happy for them. Walking from the north to the south, I soon saw the carriage parked there, but I didn't see Uncle Jinan, but I saw his carriage. After Mei Shui knew they were coming, she asked the caboose to tell He Jinan, she went shopping. If she doesn't come back early, let him wait for her here. After giving the caboose a dime, Mei Shui pushed the children to go shopping. Mei Shui's appearance made people turn around a lot. Firstly, she was pushing a car they had never seen before, and secondly, there were 2 children in the car. They looked like twins at first glance. The shopping lasted until around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Mei Shui bought a lot of things, such as beef. She was lucky this time and met an old man selling beef here. End of this chapter.